All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. We just completed the UFC Vegas 58 recap. Now we're previewing UFC Long Island, Marcel. So we got a bunch of fights to talk to you guys about today. There's been some last-minute changes to this card, which we'll get into in a second. But right now we have the main card so far stayed intact, and then we have 6 fights in the prelim. So we had 14 fights, Marcel. Now we're down to 12. Yeah. 2 fights got scrapped. Actually, 3 fights got scrapped. Technically, then 1 merged into another fight. So, for the first fight the first 2 fights that got scrapped, Herbert was supposed to fight Abuskov, I believe his name is, and that fight, that guy's off. And then obviously Billy Q, he's off the card. So they're doing Algeo against Herbert Burns instead. And then, unfortunately, we have another fight that's off, which I just heard about from Marcel 2 minutes ago. Marcel, talk about the fight that's been canceled from this card.
Yeah, Phil Rowe against Abubakar Nurmagomedov is off the card. I don't know why, but the fight is going to be rescheduled, but there is no date yet. So, yeah.
That sucks. I was actually looking forward to that fight. I think it was a really interesting fight. I mean, hopefully they get it booked in short order because both those guys are solid fighters and they're talented. So it'd be nice to get that fight going again. It was one of the better fights of the card, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Phil Rowe, and Abubakar is, looking pretty good. George, what's up, man? Yeah, 11 a.m. here on Sunday morning. We'll be previewing the whole card. I say we start getting into it right now, Marcel. Let's just get into it. So, as I always ask you, Marcel, what are your overall thoughts on the card before we get into each fight breakdown?
There are some guys and girls on this card I really like. So for me, it's like a fun card. Looking forward to. It starts at 5 p.m. over here in the Netherlands, the prelims, and the main card is at 8 p.m. So it's cool. We've got 2 back-to-back weeks, early cards. So yeah, looking forward to it, man. I think there are some fun scraps on the card. There are also some fights I'm not really invested in, but overall a good card, I think. Looking forward to it. And it's with a crowd, and those cards with a crowd lately has been delivering. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, people were just waiting so long for, fights, and now that we have fights back in front of the fans, it's exciting. Mm-hmm. I think this card's really good. It sucks that fight with Rowe and Abubakar is off because I actually really like that fight on paper. So that sucks, Marcel, but hopefully they can rebook in short order. Overall, I think this is a good card. I think it's really solid. What's up, Antoine? Glad to have you here again, man. Yeah, it starts at 11 a.m. our time, Antoine. I know you're in Atlanta, so you're Eastern time zone like me. So 11 a.m. 6 days from now, Marcel. Literally exactly 6 days from now because it's 11 a.m. right now on Sunday morning. KRX, Marcel's looking forward to Lauren Murphy, Miesha Tate. Marcel's 2 favorite fighters in the UFC roster. I'm sure Marcel can't wait for that fight to open up the card. Right, Marcel?
Look at my face.
He's got the Gegard Mousasi face, guys. All right, let's get into it. We'll start with the first fight on the card, guys. And it's a women's fight here in the strawweight division between Jessica Penne, the veteran, and Emily Ducote, the UFC newcomer here. Odds for this one, Marcel: Ducote minus 140, Penne plus 120. Give me your thoughts on this fight and Ducote making your UFC debut here.
Yeah, I fully agree with those odds, to be really honest. Actually, it was supposed to be Jessica Penne against Brianna Fortino, right?
Yep.
Short notice fight for Ducote. Looked really good in Invicta, in my opinion. Got that crazy knockout over Daniela Taylor there and beat Zapitella. Penne, for me, is she's how do you say that? Not really up-and-comer. She's a veteran, and she won against Karolina Kowalkiewicz last time out because Karolina was stupid enough to go to the ground with her. I didn't understand why she did that. Before that, she beat Lupi Godinez in a fight. I think Lupi Godinez won.
Yeah.
So for me, it's there was more upside in Emily Ducote for me to pick here, and I don't really. I don't go for Penne a lot, because I don't really see a lot of improvement in her game, to be really honest.
Yeah.
I think she is still the Penne that she was 5 years ago. So for me, I'm going with Emily Ducote. Is she going to finish? I don't know, but I'm going for the decision win for her.
Yeah, definitely interesting fight here. I mean, Penne, listen, man, she got that job done against Karolina, and that surprised me. It was a year ago, but she looked good in that fight, and I just think that was a good win. But I really don't buy her as a contender anymore, Marcel. She's 39 years old. She's taking quite a bit of damage. I know she took 4 years off because of USADA, right? And, she obviously has recovered a little bit. She's won both fights, but I don't know. I mean, Ducote, listen, her record is not great, Marcel, 11-6. She had a lot of early career losses in Bellator, but lately has looked great in Invicta, gets signed to the UFC, Marcel. And here's the other thing about this fight. 11 years younger. And last week during that Barber fight, they had a stat saying that like any fights where the fighter is 11 years, 11 years younger, they're winning like 70% of the time. I'm obviously taking Emily Ducote here. It is her UFC debut, so and it's a step up in competition. Honestly, it is. But I think Marcel, as long as she keeps on the feet, she outstrikes her and wins. If it goes to the ground, Marcel, it'll be interesting though. I'll say that because Penne is a good grappler, and let's be honest, we know a lot of women's fights end in upsets. I just don't think this is one of them. I think Ducote is the better prospect fighter at this point. She's a good prospect. I think she gets the job done, Marcel. I think it's probably a decision though, Marcel, like you said, because Penne's really tough. Like she's very durable, to be honest with you. So I think she gets the job done by decision here. But I do like Ducote to get the job done.
Remember the damage she took against Joanna, man, and she kept going. So she's super tough.
She is. Can't get Ducote's Bellator fights over the head. I know what you're saying. She's improving. She's a young fighter. Remember that. Fighters that are young can improve. She's only 28. So, I mean, she's getting better, guys. But again, she has shown some holes, right, in the grappling too. But at the same time, I mean, she's fought some good competition too, Marcel and Bellator, through the years too. So she's an interesting prospect. Let's get this comment really quick from Antoine. He's asking about Yair getting a title shot. We'll talk about that after Antoine. But I think he's got a very good chance if he wins this fight. All right, let's get to the next fight here, Marcel. We have, let's see here. Well, the Rowe fight got canceled. Okay, so now it's Dwight Grant versus Dustin Stoltzfus at the middleweight division. Dwight Grant's moving up in weight, guys, for this fight. Keep that in mind. Minus 165, Dwight Grant, Dustin Stoltzfus plus 140. What are your thoughts, Marcel?
Yeah, man. Dwight Grant has that cheat code still with having the power to knock somebody out, Yeah. And Dustin Stoltzfus, I know he did well against Miesha. He was I think he was winning until he got subbed. But still, I don't think Dustin Stoltzfus is UFC caliber, to be really honest. And with Dwight Grant, he's getting older. I don't think he will be a great. He won't have a huge future in the UFC anymore. But still, I favor him over Stoltzfus, man. I think he can knock him out for sure. Although it's like such a difficult fight because Dwight Grant goes up to 185, and Stoltzfus is pretty much always at 185. Mm-hmm. I'm still picking Grant, man. I think he's a more talented fighter. I think he knocks him out in the second round.
That's the thing. Like Dwight Grant, even though Marcel, he's the one moving up in weight, he's actually taller and has a reach advantage. Yeah. It's only 1 inch, but still, like it's not like he's going to be outsized here. For what I was listening to his interview, I can't remember who it was with. I think it was with James, and he was talking about the last fight with Kondosco, and he said like after he knocked Kondosco down, like his body like seized up on him. Like he thinks the weight cut played a part in that. And I'm kind of buying that. Like he's got crazy power, but his chin was going a little bit, Marcel. Mm-hmm. I still don't think he's got a great chin, honestly. But Stoltzfus is not a knockout guy at all. Like he's more of a grappler. It's possible Stoltzfus could get his grappling going here, like he did against Miesha, where honestly he was winning the fight until he wasn't. But I can't pick a guy who's 0-3 in the UFC, Marcel. I just have a hard time picking a guy like that. And Grant, despite having not a great record, 3-4, he's been competitive in most of his fights. Marcel, like even the fights where he's lost against like D-Rod and Kondosco, he still hurt those guys badly and ended up getting knocked out himself. But still, like they were competitive fights. I will say it's kind of interesting. He's coming back only 3 months after getting knocked out. That's kind of concerning, Marcel. But again, he's not fighting a knockout artist.
No.
If he was fighting like, honestly, if he was fighting like even Trishan Gore, I'd be more concerned.
D-Rod again.
Or D-Rod. But I'm saying like before yesterday. Now Brundage obviously is the knockout artist. But you know what I mean? Like a guy that has some power. I'd be more concerned in that kind of a matchup. As long as he keeps it standing, Marcel Hugo wins the fight. You think a knockout? I'm thinking it's possible, but I also think a decision could happen too because Stoltzfus, I think he's got a decent chin, but Grant's got that crazy power, so he definitely could knock him out. Either way, I do favor Dwight Grant. I do think he gets the job done in this fight, and I think he'll win the fight in his middleweight debut. And I think Stoltzfus, if he loses, will get cut, Marcel, with the 0-4, right? You think he'd get released?
I think so, yeah. If you go 0-4, yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's get to the next fight here. This one's interesting, Marcel. This is in the UFC light heavyweight division, Marcel. We have Dalcha Jung against Dustin Jacoby. I think this is one of the best fights in the card. I feel like it should be higher up in the card, Marcel. I don't know about you.
Sure.
This fight
100%.
Why is this buried in the prelims? This is such a good fight. Like, both guys are really good at 205. Odds for this one, Marcel. Dustin Jacoby minus 135. Dalcha Jung plus 115. The winner, I would assume, would get someone in the top 10 next, probably, if anything. So Because I think they're right now, like, I want to say, let me double check the rankings, but I want to say, like, it's like probably 15 versus 16. Yeah, Jacoby's 15. So I think Jung's probably 16. It's a good match. It's a good fight. Give me your thoughts on this one.
So I know you are high on Dow Jung, and you also like Jacoby. So give me your pick first in this one, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I do like both guys. They're both good fighters. You know, Jacoby is a great kickboxer. He's looked really good in the UFC since coming back. His first stint, obviously, 10 years ago was not great, but we don't even have to think about that anymore. I mean, he's a different fighter now. It's 10 years later. The guy is 5-0-1 in the UFC. The one fight to Kudalaba, I mean, he got dominated in the first round. They came back and ended up drawing or whatever in the fight. So he's looked good, man. I mean, he's got good striking. Obviously, he's got power. But Marcel, I really like Daan Jung, man. I think he's special, dude. I know, obviously, the Sam Valley fight, everyone's down on him from that. It's a couple years ago now. But since then, Marcel destroyed William Knight, like took him down at will, 8 takedowns, 12 minutes of control. And then the last fight, I mean, Kennedy's got a good chin, man. He knocked him out in 3 minutes. It was brutal. The elbows, just standing forward, knocking him out. He's 4-1 in the UFC with 3 finishes. You know, here's the thing with Jacoby. Like, all of his fights, for the most part, he's going to be like the taller, longer guy. In this fight, Daan Jung is taller and longer than him. Daan Jung's younger than him. On the feet, I think it's competitive. Obviously, Jacoby's got the edge, Marcel, I think, with the overall striking game. But I think this guy can mix in takedowns, Marcel, too, Daan Jung. So I think overall he's the better fighter. I'm going with Daan Jung, man, for the upset. I'm going to take the plus 150 in Daan Jung. I think it's the job done. I think it'll be a close fight, but I think it's the job done by decision, Marcel. Both really good fighters. I'm excited to see this fight play out, but I do believe Jung wins the fight. What's your thoughts?
That's pretty much it. You know, I think I faded Dow Jung for some reason a long time, but his grappling is pretty good as well, you know, and I think he's more complete than Jacoby, in my opinion. Will be a good fight. I even can see a finish here, you know, but I'm going with a decision for Dow Jung.
You're picking Jung too, eh? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm picking him too, yeah.
Yeah, because I think he's the more well-rounded guy. You know, that's why I'm picking him. And it isn't MMA.
That's it.
If it was just a kickboxing match in glory, I would obviously pick Jacoby.
It's almost comparable to actually not, because Caio Baralho is more of a ground game guy, but it's almost comparable to Caio Baralho Petrosian, where one guy is really more of a kickboxing guy, you know, and the other guy is more complete, in my opinion, you know. And maybe it's a bad comparison, because I think Jacoby is much better on the ground than Petrosian is, you know. Yeah. But it's kind of that thing, like you got a guy who's pretty good at kickboxing and okay on the ground, and you got a more complete guy who can do both very well, you know. So that's why I'm going with Down Jung.
I agree with 8 Local. They should not be fighting each other. I mean, I love the fight. I'm just saying, like, they probably should have both got guys in the top, you know, 12, 15, whatever range. So it's just lucky UFC's been saying it's a chill guy. I think Logie Carver for snapping his opponent's arm. Yeah, Joe Pyfer. Actually, he's back at Contender Series, by the way, this summer. I like Jung anyways. The odds that pick him, make the picking more appealing to me, for sure. Love to see you guys on the same page with the upset. I mean, hey man, I think it'll be competitive, but I do think he wins the fight. So I'll take the plus money on Daan Jung. All right, let's get to the next fight here, Marcel. This one, Marcel booked on short notice, obviously, because both guys lost their opponents. Now we're having Bill Algeo fight Herbert Burns. And right now, Bill Algeo's favored to win the fight, minus 170, Burns plus 145. What's your thoughts on this fight?
It's a difficult fight, man, because in my opinion, both guys are pretty inconsistent. You know, if you look at Bill Algeo, he had that good win over Joe Anderson Brito. I think the first three minutes were Joe Anderson's. After that, Bill Algeo pretty much did what he had to do. You know, I had a fight against Spike Carlisle. Well, many people were on Spike Carlisle, but he did very well in that fight. And he lost to the two Ricardos, right? Ricardo Lemos and Ricardo Ramos. And the Lemos fight was a really good fight, I remember. It was a short notice for Algeo. If you look at Herbert Burns, first 2 wins via knockout and via submission in the UFC, also win over Dark Manor in the Contender Series. But that last loss against Pineda was bad, dude. And it's like almost 2 years ago, right? He hasn't fought in 2 years. Really difficult one to pick here. But I feel like if it goes to the later rounds, I favor Algeo. So I'm going with a decision win for Bill Algeo here.
Yeah, I think this is one of the hardest fights in the card to pick, honestly. Especially because it's booked on short notice. I do want to say this, though, Marcel. The fight with Pineda, he took on 6 days' notice. Okay, so it was super short notice. He cut a lot of weight and missed weight for that fight and got finished. He's been out for 2 years with a knee injury, Herbert Burns. So that's something you got to keep in mind. I mean, 2-year layoff's never good. At the same time, Marcel, Bill Algeo, I mean, listen, he's a decent fighter, but I think his takedown defense is pretty bad. The numbers say it's bad too. The eye test says it's bad. Herbert Burns is like an elite grappler if he gets the fight to the ground. Not only that, Marcel, but I think on the feet, he's not bad. I mean, he knocked out Nate Landwehr with that crazy knee. He's got some power. He trains at Killcliff FC, obviously, not Sanford MMA anymore. So he's training with a good team. I don't know. It's a hard fight to pick. I mean, both guys are very inconsistent, like you said. I think that's a great word. Like, they're up and down. Algeo, I agree with you. I mean, if the fight goes late, he's got the better cardio. He'll probably win the decision if the fight goes late. But if it ends early, Herbert Burns probably chokes him out, Marcel, or submits him in their armbar or something. This is a really hard fight to call, Marcel. It really is. I think it's a coin flip. So in that case, I'll take the plus 145 and go with Herbert Burns. I think he gets the submission, but I think it's very hard to call. You know, Marcel, I would not surprise either way. Having a hard time. I was thinking about it all morning. I messaged you. I'm like, Marcel, I'm watching John's interview with Burns. I want to hear like why he was out, and again, the knee injury. That's not good. I don't want to hear like a long layoff, but the guy's talented, man. Very good grappler. Algeo's been tapped out. If the fight goes to the ground, I give Herbert Burns a big advantage. But if he doesn't get the submission in the first, round and a half, he'll probably end up losing the decision, or maybe Gaston gets TKO'd. So tricky fight to call, but I feel like it's a pick'em fight. The odds opened at minus 120, plus 100. Now you're getting plus 150 almost in Burns. I gotta take a shot on it. So not like super confident by any means, Marcel, but I think it's an even fight, especially given the circumstances. So, and speaking of even fights here, Marcel, we have Ricky Simón against Jack Shore, and this one, Marcel, also very competitive odds for this fight, Marcel. Right now we have Jack Shore minus 165, Ricky Simón plus 140, and again, this fight opened at a pick'em. So the public's taken Jack Shore to a decent sized favorite here, basically the same as the last fight, basically the same odds. So what's your thoughts, man? Shore versus Simón.
First of all, Jack Shore is fucking good, but people are kind of a little bit overestimating him, in my opinion, as well. If I look at his fights are good. He has a good ground game. In the Valia fight, he won the third round, but he could have lost the first two, in my opinion. The thing is, with Ricky Simón, I think Ricky Simón had one bad stint in the UFC where he had that Faber and Font fight, those two. But overall, after that, he looked pretty good, in my opinion. He stopped Asunsao last time out, which is a big win for him. I feel like both guys are very competitive, will be very competitive with each other, But I don't think Shore can do the way he does normally with his opponents. I think Simón is too good to do that, I kind of favoring Simón, man. I think he can win the decision here for sure. Maybe he can even get a stoppage, but I think a decision win makes more sense. So I'm picking Ricky Simón here to get the decision win. And this fight should have been on the main card, to be honest.
Yeah, this should probably be opening the main card. I mean, these guys are good, and Jack Shore is undefeated, Marcel, 16-0. He's very good.
Yeah.
The Timur Valiev fight was very competitive. It sucks that Valiev got cut. Like, I don't really understand that, Marcel. I will say this too. Jack Shore, Marcel, I really like him, but all of his wins, Marcel, are against guys that are not on the roster anymore. If I'm not mistaken, they're all gone, right? So, is he as good as we thought he was? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think he's good. I'm going to pick Jack Shore, but I think this is a fight where Ricky Simón could upset him. Ricky Simón's a very good fighter. He's coming off a huge win over Asunsao, knocked him out. He's got some good wins on his little streak here going. The guy's good, man. He's 7-2 in the UFC. Good wrestling. Maybe, the better wrestler in this fight, pure wrestler probably. The striking, I think, Shore probably, after that last fight, Marcel, I think I'd have to give him the edge, but I don't think it's a blowout. Again, I feel like this is probably closer to a pick'em fight, but in the odds, and that's what they open him at. But in this case, I'm going to lean slightly towards Jack Shore. It's just not as confident as the odds are making. I think it's very close. So I don't blame you at all for taking a shot on Ricky Simón here at all. Simón's on my don't bet against list, says Sweet Scientist. Yeah, I mean, he's good, but, Shore's really good too. Shore isn't lost. So, I mean, how can you bet against Shore either, Hey, Gerla, what's going on, man? Dan and Late, what's up, guys? Love the show. Hey, appreciate that, man. No worries. We just started the prelims. You can go back and rewind it and check out the other picks. All right, Marcel, let's get to the next fight here. This is the feature prelim, if I'm not mistaken. Punahele Soriano against Dalcha Lungiambula. I don't know why this is the feature prelim. I got to be honest with you, Marcel. Is there a reason for this? And by the way, George wanted to mention 33-0 as a pro and amateur. Jack Shore is very good for sure. There's no doubt about it. Again, hard to bet against a guy who has that record, right? But maybe this is this is the toughest fight to career. All right, so we'll Soriano and Dalcha. This fight, Soriano minus 260, Dalcha plus 220. Marcel, give me your thoughts on this one. I don't really agree with it being the prelim main event. I think Simón and Shore should have had that spot, but whatever. What are your thoughts on this one?
I agree with you. Yeah, man. If you look at Puna Soriano, the only fight he really lost, in my opinion, is the Brandon Allen one. He didn't look good in that one. The other one against Nick Maximov could have gone his way as well. If you look at Dalcha looked pretty good against Brundage last time out, and then he got choked out of nowhere. Before that, listen, man, I have the feeling with Dalcha, he's kind of a, how do you say that, bulky guy. I don't feel it. I really don't think he does really well in the UFC, to be really honest. He's also training at Killcliff FC right now, but who isn't? Still, I favor Puna, and Puna has the knockout punch as well. I know Dalcha has as well, but Puna has more, in my opinion. I see more upside to pick Puna here. I think he finishes him. I'm going with the second round win for Puna here, TKO.
I really like Puna Soriano in this fight. Like, honestly, he's probably like one of my most confident picks in this card. I really like him in this matchup. To me, he matches the grappling, if not betters him, and then the striking. I do think he's probably the better striker overall. Dalcha's not a bad fighter, but Marcel, age 35 here, guys. I mean, or 34. He's turning 35 in a couple weeks. He's getting up there in age, and overall, I haven't been too impressed with him in the UFC, Marcel. I got to be honest with you. Like, he's had some moments where he's looked good, but overall, just not great. And the cardio, I think, is a big issue for him too. I think Soriano can knock him out, Marcel. Soriano's shown the power in the past. He hasn't shown it lately, but I think he can show it in this fight. I like Soriano to win this fight. I think he's a good parlay piece this weekend, personally. I like him to win this fight, Marcel, and like him by stoppage. And I don't think there's odds out for that. I'm taking a look. No odds. I think some of the props are dropping like right as we speak, but yeah, I think that's the way to go here. Puna Soriano. I think he wins. Daniel says, yeah, Daniel, don't you dare say that L word. We don't use that in this program because we know how MMA is, and MMA is crazy, but I do like him a lot to win this fight. I'll say that, Marcel. And I know you do too. All right, that's it for the prelims, guys. Let's get to the main card now. And here we go. Marcel, can't wait to talk about this fight. You were so sad. Marcel messaged you when they canceled it from the pay-per-view card on UFC 276, Marcel, and you said, why did they cancel this fight? What?
Let me think what I think about that.
Listen, I understand that Miesha Tate is a big name, and Lauren Murphy's obviously a decent fighter herself, but I just don't like this fight opening the main card. Marcel, I just don't think it's an exciting fight on paper. I don't think it'll play out that way. And next fight, you have Shane Burgos and Charles Jourdain. And that, to me, is probably the best fight in the card. Why did that not open the main card? You know what I mean, Marcel? I'm just saying, like,
should have been a
open the card
co-main
with a bang. Yeah. I think it made more sense as the co-main than Waterson Lemos. It really does. So I just think it's out of place here as the opening card. But let's give our pick for this fight. The odds for this one, -170 on Miesha Tate, +145 Lauren Murphy. Go ahead, Marcel. Give me your pick.
It's just disrespectful that Lauren Murphy is the underdog here, man, to be really honest. Why is the UFC pushing Miesha Tate so much? I really don't see it. I understand she's a former champion, but her best days are gone, you know? She went to flyweight because people were like, she thinks, she wants to challenge Valentina. No, she went to flyweight because her best friend Juliana is the bantamweight champion. That's why she went to flyweight, If she wins this fight, she's going to get a Valentina Shevchenko title fight, which is hilarious and stupid. Lauren Murphy came from that Shevchenko fight, didn't look good in that fight, but who does look good against Shevchenko? Maybe Tyler Santos last time out, Miesha Tate, she fought that fight last time, remember, against Katlyn Vieira, which many people scored for her. I don't know why you scored it for her. It was clearly Vieira. I think I even had 5-0 for Vieira. 4-1 or 5-0, 1 and 2. Yeah, man, will be definitely a decision this fight, I think.
Yep.
I'm just not going with Miesha Tate here, man. She hasn't shown anything to me that she can be somebody again in the UFC. Yeah, she beat Marion Renault when she came back, but Marion Renault was already with 1.5 lakh out of the UFC. It was a retirement fight. So for me, Lauren Murphy, unanimous decision.
Yeah, I like the call for the fight going the distance. I really like that. I mean, the odds, I'm just looking, there's not many props up, but it is -350 right now. I mean, that to me seems like a fight. This fight, I just don't see a finish at all. I think that could easily be like -800 instead, to be honest with you. They're both very durable. I'll give them both that. They're both very tough girls. There's no doubt about it. Man, it's not an easy fight to pick. I mean, Tate did not look great against Vieira, but now she is now she's dropping weight class. Like, how's she going to look at this weight class? You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. But, Marcel, like, I do think she's overall the better fighter, honestly. I do think she'll get the job done here by decision, but there's no way in hell I'm betting on this fight. I'm staying away from this fight. There's just too many question marks about Miesha Tate right now. And Lauren Murphy's coming off a really, like, I know she lost to Valentina, right? I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But she looked terrible in that fight. And I don't know. Like, it's just hard to say how's she going to look after almost a year off after a brutal knockout loss like that. Like, it's interesting to see. Murphy's also the older fighter in this fight, which is interesting because Miesha Tate's not young by any means, Marcel, but Murphy's even older than her. So that's interesting as well. I don't know. I think it's a close fight. I think it goes to decision. I could see a split decision maybe in this fight. Maybe that's something to look at as well. The fight going to a split because I think it's possible. Leading Tate by decision, Marcel, not confident and not super interested in the fight. Marcel, like there's just better fights in this card and this should not be, in my opinion, opening up the main card and just don't like that, But let's get into the good fights because there's some really fucking good fights coming up now, Marcel. Now that we got that out of the way. Also, George wanted to mention the COVID for Murphy. Absolutely, that's something you mentioned. All right, this to me is fight of the night here. Shane Burgos versus Charles Jourdain. Would you agree, Marcel, fight of the night? I think you'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Great fight. Odds on this one, Shane Burgos minus 190, Charles Jourdain plus 160. I love this fight. The winner's going to take, I think, a big step up at 145, especially if Jourdain gets the win. Give me your thoughts on this one, man, because your guy is Shane Burgos, my guy's Charles Jourdain. So what do you think about this one, my friend?
So the funny thing is I interviewed Shane Burgos, and the interview will come up later this week. And I asked him, what do you want, fight of the night or performance of the night? And then he was like, stop asking stupid questions, dude. He's like, listen, I never want fight of the night. I want performance of the night. I have a lot of fight of the nights. I only want fight of the night after the fight, went 3 rounds. And then I can forget fight of the night, but never in front, So definitely performance of the night. So I told him, okay, I wrote down fight of the night. So, it's a fun matchup. What can we say? I mean, Shane Burgos, we all know if he comes to the octagon, you have a fight on your hands, Last time against Billy Q, good win, solid win. Was a great matchup again. I think would have been fight of the night if it wasn't on the Gaethje Chandler card, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you look at Charles Jourdain, a great stoppage win last time against guillotine choke against Lando Venata. Before that, looked really well against Andre Ewell. The thing only is that I think that Shane Burgos fought tougher competition than Charles Jourdain. Still, Charles Jourdain, super entertaining fighter. I think will be a great fight. I expecting this to be the fight of the night as well. I'm taking Shane to win it, man. I think he wins a unanimous decision here. But it's a super fun fight to watch, I think.
Yeah, this is an awesome fight. I mean, I love it. They're both great fighters. Like, what can you say? Like, there's not much to say that's negative about these guys. I think they're both awesome. I will say Shane gets hit a lot, man. He's been dropped 5 times in the UFC. That's a lot of the knockdowns against. Took a lot of damage in his last fight, but kept going and moved forward and won the fight. Very tough dude, obviously. He's got the reach advantage here. Big reach advantage, actually, 6 inches. I think he's probably got the better submissions too, but I don't know, man. I like how Jourdain's looked lately, Marcel. I think he's looked great. I think he's found something here. Obviously, tapping out Venata was nice. It was quick, but the Andre Ewell fight, I know that guy's not great. Let's be honest, he's not that good. But just the way he won, and even the Rojo fight looked good in the Rosa fight. He was probably winning that fight until he got submitted late, which could happen here. I mean, I think there's definitely a chance Burgos submits him, but I don't know, Marcel. I think it's kind of like an even fight, honestly. Like, and I feel like the odds are a little bit off. Just like the last fight with Burgos, I think it was like the same odds, basically, like almost 2-1. And I took Cortillo, and it was super close. Burgos got the job done. And I'm going to go back to the well here, Marcel. I hate betting as Burgos. He's a good fighter, man, but I got to go with the plus 160 on Jourdain. I think he's going to win a very, very competitive decision here, Marcel. I love this fight. Fight of the night for sure. But I just think Jourdain's looked fresher a little bit lately. He's the younger guy here coming into this one. He's only 26 years old. I really like this guy, Marcel. I like them both. Love them both. How can I say any bad about these guys? They're both fucking awesome fighters, man. There's nothing bad to say. But you got to make a pick, right, Marcel? So lean towards Jourdain slightly as an underdog here. All right, let's get to the next fight here, Marcel. This is also an interesting fight. Flyweight division here. We got Sumudaerji against Matt Schnell, Marcel. Schnell coming back after like a fight recently where he got stopped in, obviously, against Royval. He did drop Royval early in that fight, and they got choked out. That was only 2 months ago. So quick turnaround here for Matt Schnell. And Darji had a fight canceled against, was it Manal Kopp, I think? Yeah. So that got canceled. Now he's actually fighting before Kopp because Kopp's other fight got canceled against Bontarine. Odds for this one, minus 250 on Sumudaerji, plus 210 on Schnell. So Sumudaerji's one of the biggest favorites on the card. What do you think, man?
I agree with that, to be honest. I think Matt Schnell, I think he's a good fighter, but the only time I really was impressed by him was last time against Brandon Royval in the first 1.5 minute, where I looked really good, and then he got stopped by Royval. Sumudaerji, I think he's improving every time I see him. I remember when he came in the UFC against Louis Smolka. Not many people had heard of him. I remember MMA Fighting had him listed as Sumudaerji. So not many people heard about him, but he's solid. Looked good in his fight so far. I had some quick stoppages. The Adeshev one wasn't that great in my opinion. He was good, but I expected more from him in that fight. He didn't show it. There's been some time before when we saw him fight, but still, I see more upside in Sumudaerji than Matt Schnell, to be really honest, man. So I'm going with Sumudaerji decision win for the Tibetan Eagle.
Bro, I like him too, but I think he knocks him out. Like, I'm pretty confident he knocks him out, to be honest with you. Like, Schnell's chain just, to me, is not very good at all. He's been knocked out a bunch of times in his career, 3 times in the UFC. I think he gets knocked out here. He's fighting like one of the best strikers in the division. He's coming off a fight recently too, so he fought. I know he didn't get dropped in that fight. He's actually the guy who landed the knockdown. But if anything, I think that plays even into Sumudaerji's favor, because maybe he's going to be like, all right, I can stand trade with this guy, which I think will be a mistake. Sumudaerji is a very good striker. He's a lot younger too, 6 years younger. Southpaw stance, which I like as well. I just think he gets the job done here, Marcel. So I'm going to go with Sumudaerji by knockout in this fight. I think that's how it ends. But I like him, Marcel. He's also one of my more confident picks in the card, Marcel. I think that's fair to say, right? For you too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next fight here, guys. And the next one is also a very good fight. This is an awesome fight in the welterweight division between Muslim Salikhov and Jingliang. And the odds for this one, also competitive. Salikhov minus 165, Jingliang plus 140. A lot of fights, actually, the odds are in this range on this card. There's 5 fights with basically the exact same odds, which is actually 6 fights with like basically minus 170 and plus 145 underdog. Very interesting. What do you think, Marcel? Who's your pick on this one?
You go first on this one, man. I'm pretty convinced, so you go first.
I like Muslim Salikhov to win. I think he's the better striker. I think the fight stays in the feet. The guy is a really elite striker. He's an older guy. He's 38, which is not great. But Jingliang's also, older too. He's 34, so it's not like they're both spring chickens by any means. Both guys are good. They both look good in the UFC. Jingliang to me is a little bit more inconsistent though. He's looked good at times, but also he's lost some fights he should have won too. I just think Salikhov can keep the fight standing, and on the feet, I just think he is the more technical striker. Probably, they both have power actually, to be fair, but I just think he's the better striker, and I think I don't see the fight going to the ground. So to me, it's Salikhov, and I don't know if he knocks him out or not, because Jingliang is pretty durable, to be honest with you. But I think Salikhov wins the fight. So what do you think?
Jingliang is just kind of a weird fighter, Sometimes he shows up and sometimes he doesn't. Remember him knocking out Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos, nobody expected. Ponzinibbio after that, nobody expected. So it's difficult. And for Salikhov is a good fighter, but on the other hand, I haven't been really impressed. I remember him fighting Zaleski, and I think he lost that fight, for example. Overall, more technical, I think, like you said, than Jingliang. But there's always a chance for Jingliang to land a bomb somewhere, for some reason. Although overall, Salikhov should win, so decision win for Muslim Salikhov.
Okay, so you like him too, yeah. He gets the job done here. You're saying decision, right? That's what I think too.
Decision.
Because Jingliang is tough, man. He's very tough to finish. I know Hamzat finished him, but it was a different fight. All right, let's get to the next fight here, guys. We have the co-main event. Amanda Lemos against Michelle Waterson. I don't really understand why it's the co-main event, because it's not like the winner's gonna get a title shot or anything. Whereas with Tate, she might if she wins, right? So it doesn't really make sense to me. But anyways, it's a decent fight. Lemos obviously very powerful, and then Waterson super durable, very hard to finish. So odds for this one, Marcel. Lemos is the biggest favorite in the card right now, minus 345, plus 285 on Waterson. What do you think about that? She's the biggest favorite in the card. What do you think?
That's kind of crazy. This fight screams split decision to me, because these girls will keep it probably standing. Mm-hmm. They will trade shots. This can be like Angela Hill against Lemos or Angela Hill against Waterson,
Mm-hmm.
just stand up and a lot. The thing is with Michelle Waterson, she punches a lot of air always, but for some reason, she gets those decisions sometimes that she maybe shouldn't get. But 50-50 fight to me, man. I think it shouldn't been that much of Amanda shouldn't have been that much of a favorite. I still favoring her to win the fight via decision, but should be a lot closer in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I just think the odds are off here. Like, I don't really understand why she's minus 350, basically. Like, to me, it's a closer fight than that. I'm still picking her to win because I do favor her to win the fight, but I just think the odds are a little bit extreme. Listen, man, like, she's good. She's got some power, obviously. She's got some, grappling as well. But Waterson comes to fight every time. She's super tough. She's hard to finish. She has more experience in the UFC. She probably has the better cardio, too. So Waterson might win the third round. It comes down to the first two rounds. I think the first round Lemos wins for sure, and then it comes down to the second round. That's why you said split decision, right? It could be. Maybe this is a fight that could go to split too. It screams split, right? Doesn't it, Marcel?
Yeah, it does.
Really think about that. Like I think that's a decent way to look at it because first round Lemos, third round Waterson, second round it's going to decide it. I lean towards Lemos because of that power and just. I know the last fight with Andrade, she got finished, but I mean, up to that point, she was really just looking really good in her fights, except for maybe the Hill fight. And Waterson's, I know that age-wise, technically, they're basically, like, Waterson's only 1 year older, but she has had way more fights, so she's taking more damage, which I think could show up in one of these fights. But I do think that the fight goes the distance, too. So I think that might be the play here, the fight going the distance. Or maybe Lemos by decision, because I don't think she knocks Michelle Waterson out, Marcel. So, yeah, I think maybe Lemos by decision. I don't have odds for that, guys. I could give that to you right now, but take a look at that one when it comes out. I think that's the way to go for this one, maybe, because Waterson's very durable, very, very tough. So that'd be the way to go, in my opinion. All right, one last fight here, guys. Oh, my. This is such a great fight. We have the main event of UFC Long Island, Brian Ortega against Yair Rodriguez. Featherweight division. Another fight, Marcel, with minus 165 favorite, plus 140 underdog. Like so many fights in this card with the same odds. Crazy. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcel? The main event, the winner potentially getting a title shot, especially if Yair wins. So what do you think, Marcel? Who wins this fight?
It's a great matchup, I think. You got the crazy striker Rodriguez against a very good BJJ guy in Ortega, Thing is, does Ortega get this fight to the ground or does he stand with Rodriguez? If he's going to stand with Rodriguez, he can be in for a rough night. We know his stand-up has improved, but still Rodriguez stand-up, in my opinion, is better. I think Ortega knows that he needs to win this fight, and he's going to play it smart, I think he probably goes with him to the ground. I think he submits Rodriguez, to be really honest. I think Ortega, if he can get Ortega or he can get Rodriguez in a choke that he had Volkanovski in, I'm sure he puts Rodriguez away. Yeah. And I think it happens. And I go in the second round submission for Brian Ortega here.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance. Like, he's got great submissions. We know that. I think this is a really, really tricky fight, Marcel. I got to be honest with you, man. I think it's a hard fight to call. So here's the thing about this fight. Now, if I knew that Ortega would wrestle, I would obviously pick him without hesitation. Yeah. But looking at the stats, and the stats never lie necessarily. Like, he averages less than one takedown a fight. Same with Rodriguez. They actually have the same takedown per 50 minutes. 0.87 for Ortega, 0.86 for Rodriguez. Now, that scares me because, yeah, Ortega's got good submissions, but he has to get the fight to the ground. I know a lot of times he'll just grab a guy's neck during like a transition or something or during a scramble. We've seen that many times. But it's hard to guarantee that happening. Here's the other thing. Another stat that really stands out to me is the amount of strikes he takes. They're both landing, 4-point-something strikes per minute, but Ortega is absorbing almost 7 compared to 4 for Rodriguez. I think if the fight stays standing, he's in trouble, Marcel. I really do. And the last couple of fights, he has been pretty much playing on the feet. Now, I know Volkanovski, he almost had that choke in. We know that, right? So, again, if he gets the fight to the ground, very good chance he submits him. But I don't know, Marcel. I mean, a lot of his fights take place on the feet, Marcel. He doesn't really land a lot of takedowns. It's definitely possible. If he fights that way and Rodriguez's takedown defense, it's not great. I mean, we saw Max take him down, Jeremy Stevens take him down. But on the feet, I do think he's a great striker, man. And I think people forget how good Yair is. He's still pretty young, too. I mean, he's still, I think, getting better as a fighter. I know he lost to Max, but he was plus 500 and put up a good fight,
That's true.
This is a tough one to call, Marcel. I don't know. It's really tricky, man. I don't know. It's just a hard fight to call, guys. Honestly, I feel like this is very competitive.
Let's say you can still change it, but right now, what are your feelings?
Right. I mean, I don't like to change it after the podcast. I'll just
I
say that.
understand.
I do my research into these fights. I guess I'm leaning a little towards Yair because I feel like if it takes place in the feed, he can win the fight. Marcel. But I mean, how could I be super confident because of the ground game, right? Of Ortega.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know though, Marcel. I mean, just like that number really stands out to me. I was thinking about the fight and then watching some fights back to these guys. Then I looked at the numbers and I was like, holy shit! Like he really does get teed off a lot on the feet, Ortega. So, Rodriguez by decision. That's my pick right now. That's the way I'd go. But again, it's very competitive. I love the matchup. It's a great fight. So, it's a good win. And I expect most people to pick Ortega in this fight. I think I'll be in the minority, but I think it's competitive. I think it's I think the odds open. Where are the odds open at? Yeah, a little bit lower. So it's not like it's going crazy anyways. I think the odds are where they should be. Like Ortega, because of the grappling advantage, should probably be favored here. But I still think Rodriguez could win the fight. So it's really good, man. George says Yair's got the win and title fight motivation. Ortega doesn't. Maybe that plays a factor. It's hard to say, George. I mean, it's hard to say. I think if Ortega grapples exclusively, Marcel, he wins the fight. But again, he likes to stand and trade now. A lot of his fights, Marcel, lately. The Max fight, the Korean Zombie, the Volk fight even. The fight with Frankie Edgar, he's on the feed in all those fights. So he's great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I'm not convinced. Yeah. Kamuy Killa, who you think will fight for the vacant weight title? I think Oliveira and Makhachev probably they'll get the job done, but just depends on what Oliveira wants. Anyways, I think that's it for this preview, guys, for UFC Long Island. I mean, it's an interesting card. We have a few, Marcel. We have a couple picks that we're differing on here. A couple of them. We did have one consensus dog, guys. If you didn't listen already, Da and Jung was a dog we both liked to win the fight. And other dogs that I picked were Burns, Jourdain, and Yair. So I took 4 on this card. And then you took Ricky Simone, I believe, and Lauren Murphy as dogs, right?
Woof. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting card. I think there's a lot of fights that honestly can go either way. I just think the matchmaking lately, Marcel, has been so good. Don't you think? Like, the fights are even the fights that the odds are extended, like this Lemos fight, like it's closer than the odds say. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
matchmakers are so good. Who do you guys like most overall on the card? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, man, the fights are so close sometimes, and it's like you're so tempted to like take plus money on fights you think will be competitive, which is not really a bad, strategy for betting in the long haul. But to play it safe, maybe you just go with the favorites you're convinced that the underdog can't win. And I think for me, Puna and Sumudaerji, Marcel, those are the two guys I like the most probably. They're two of the bigger favorites. I just looked at the parlay of those two. It's like even money. It's minus 105. So you like them both, right? Soriano and Mudaerji. I think that's a decent play. I mean, they should both win, So to cut the juice out, you could play them together. And then obviously there are, like I said, some dogs I like Jung. Of all the dogs, Jung is probably the one I like the most, to be honest with you. And again, there's 50-50 fights like Jourdain and Burgos that, I favor the dog, but they could go either way. And the same with Shore and Simone from Marcel. So is there any other favorite you like besides those two guys? Like, is there Salikhov, you said you like him quite a bit? Use them?
Not huge. I'm still I'm confident in my pick, but I wouldn't say like I'm overly confident. Not more confident than in Puna and in Sumudaerji.
For sure. Let's get some comments here. Hey, Joe, what's up, man? Hey, what's up, guys? Had to miss work. Go back and watch. Hey, dude, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for your you're always watching and being a supporter of the show. George saying put the Martin. Oh, he's saying the Martin Marcel consensus picks parlay in the show notes. I guess it would be the picks parlay. I mean, for me, we just talked about it. It would be Mudaerji and Puna, basically even money.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, SK? The word lock scares the shit out of me in MMA because I've just watched it for so long that so many fights that we thought a guy would be a lock end up losing, but we both really like those two guys, Mudaerji and Soriano. I think, anyways, right? You said those are the two guys. Yeah. You too, right? So you have the same pick. And
I'm with you.
And your favorite dog would be Jung? That's your favorite dog?
Yeah, from the 3 I choose, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the same page, you Marcel. Even though we had a lot of differing picks, we're actually on the same page. If Yair gets a title shot off the win, would it make sense in your guys' opinion? 100%. Josh Emmett is coming off a good win over Calvin Kattar, but it was such a close fight. a lot of the fans are just not buying him as a contender right now. I see what the fans say, Marcel. They're not thrilled with the decision. They don't buy Josh Emmett as a contender. I do think Josh could get the title shot, but I think if Yair, especially if he finishes Ortega, gets the title shot. What do you think?
There are a lot of things, For example, the Emmett against Cater fight was super close, and many people had it for Cater. That's one, Second thing is, if Rodriguez wins, and even if he wins the decision, Rodriguez is Mexican and has a whole country behind him, And you can say for Emmett, but still, I don't see like a lot of Emmett fans saying like, "Oh, Josh Emmett," And the UFC is really big on different countries going to Mexico, having a title fight there maybe someday again, So that would make sense for them more. So I think the UFC is more invested to get Jair Rodriguez a title fight than to give Josh Emmett a title fight. But we'll see how it goes on Saturday.
It's crazy. Like a few years ago, they were going all in on Mexico, and they haven't been there in a while, obviously because of COVID. We know that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just crazy, Marcel. We had so many guys. Like, remember, you had like Eric Perez. Remember that guy? He was like supposed to be the next big thing. You had Yair winning the show.
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
Listen, for example, end of the month, if Moreno beats Kai Kara France, if beats Kai Kara France,
that's
and
a close fight too.
and Jair wins this one, you can put Jair in a title fight against Volkanovski, and you can put Moreno in the title fight against Figueiredo, and you can do it both in Mexico, for example. You've got 2 title fights there with 2 favorites, local favorites. So
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you could do that as well. There's a lot of options they have right now. Yeah. Obviously, Volk could go up in weight too, and then you could have a vacant title fight, right? Or not vacant, interim, I should say. I don't think they would vacate it. Maybe he would if he won the belt. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options, guys. Like featherweight's a great division too, And then you have a lot of up and coming guys too, Marcel. But I think honestly, if Yair wins, I do think because I believe in the rankings he is ranked above Emmett right now, or they're tied.
He's right? number 3. He's number 3. I think.
Are they tied? I think they changed. It changed this week. I want to say they're both 3, Marcel. They're both ranked at 3. I don't really know why. Well, I guess because Emmett won the fight, but it was weird because last week he was 4, and then this week he's 3, so it's kind of weird. But you know how the rankings work. It's going to be different next week too. So I don't necessarily buy them. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a big fight for this guy. Marcel, like this. Mm-hmm. This is his chance to get a title shot, Marcel. It really is. So it'd be big for him to get the win. There was a couple comments here. Josh is solid. The Cater win wasn't impressive enough for a title shot. That's the thing, right? Like, he's really good, but it wasn't the best. Like, it was a great fight, but it wasn't the most convincing win. If that makes sense.
It.
Yeah, right? That's why. People aren't convinced that he won. Evloev is another guy that I think is an up-and-coming beast. Same with Bryce Mitchell, obviously. SK, I like Jung. Jacoby's no joke. See the decision for Jacoby to kickboxing. Could be for sure. I mean, it's competitive, but I think we both think Jung's like the better MMA fighter. That's why we picked him. But again, it could just be a kickboxing fight. So, you guys. Oh yeah, this is another fight we didn't talk about. Giga is fighting Sadiq Youssef. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the matchup, honestly, Marcel. But I think it's a good fight, so I don't mind it. It's 2 strikers. But I don't know where Mitchell's going to fight next. Like, who he's going to fight next? Any thoughts? Like Bryce Mitchell?
No idea, my man. No idea.
No. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about, Marcel? Any other fights? Is there any other news? Anything else?
The Calvillo against Nunes fight got rebooked for San Diego. And that's pretty much it, man. Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Let's plug our stuff, my man. Marcel, appreciate you as always, man. Love doing this with you.
Me too.
2 podcasts. Go ahead, Marcel, plug your stuff and tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, it's still Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. And the articles are in Dutch, and they are on Eurosport.nl Mixed Martial Arts section.
This last question from Anton. Last question to end the show here. Where's Brian go from here to win at age 31? I don't know, and that's the question. Like, he seems like he's living a good life right now. He's dating Tracy Cortez. They just bought a house, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I mean, life's good for this guy. But you're right. Like, what's the motivation at this point? Like, I guess he thinks they can get another shot. Maybe if Volkanovski leaves the division, it would set him up for a title shot. But it's a great question. I mean, it really hedges on Volkanovski leaving the division. Same with Max. They're both in the same spot, in my opinion, Marcel.
Do a rematch with Max.
I know it was one-sided. Yeah, you could do that rematch. I mean, especially with Max, he didn't look good in his last fight. So, the Egyptian heavyweight, I think he's fighting Contender Series. Is that the new guy? No, he got signed. He got signed, yeah. And he's got 2 wins over the same guy. I don't know his name, but it's not that impressive on paper. Penne's a great underdog. It's possible for sure. I mean, we know that women's MMA fights go either way, man. So, no problem, Steve. We appreciate listening, man. All right, guys. Follow me on Twitter at MMADMartin, podcast, MMAOBsburger.com. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. I'm also at bookies.com. my best bets coming out again this week, as always, and then MiamiNews.com. So hope you guys have a great week. We'll be back next Sunday. We'll be recapping UFC Long Island and then previewing UFC London. Can't wait to talk about that. Have a great day, everyone. Talk